So on the Money Show, we'll be decoding all of this. I have very special guests with me. I have Puneet Panchal, Senior VP and Head of Insurance at Cube Highways, Napinia NS, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court and Founder, Cyber Sathi. Good evening and welcome to the show. Puneet, let me just start with a very basic question. India has seen a massive rise in cyber attacks, okay, from data theft to ransomware. Why is cyber insurance still treated like a niche product and not a core offering like a health or motor insurance? Are we looking at insurers shying away from fully underwriting cyber risk? Is that the case?
Yeah, thanks, Kavita. A very pertinent question, Kavita, I believe. And you see, India is such a big geography, in fact, and being almost the fourth largest economy in the world, and how the businesses have evolved over the period of time, and along with the advancement in the technology and in the digital world altogether, all this facilitation and the convenience what it came with with this digital advancement, there are the connected risks also which have attached to it, in fact, and they have been phenomenally increasing day by day and year by year, in fact. What you gave the example just now of 16,000 crore, the attack which has been there, the data breach had been there. It is phenomenal, it's massive. And you see, the most important thing is if we talk about on the personal front, on the individuals, it's more important that the awareness has to be there among the individuals. We are digitally connected round the clock with our digital devices, be it laptop or mobile, all our activities right from the morning to the night. In fact, each and every, whether it is banking, whether it's investment, whether it's communication or interaction with your or social media, in fact, or entertainment, whatever you talk about, everything is on the digital platform, and everything has a risk of its own. So it's more of an awareness, the thing that, okay, you have to be more aware. Of course, on the insurance part, once all these protection measures and your awareness fails, in fact, then this is the safety net, in fact, after all, at the bottom, which protects you from the financial loss and other associated loss with the incident. And that's where the insurance picks in fact, and plays a very important role. So insurance availability, of course, it is there, but then, okay, how the things are progressing, how the IT world is developing with the advent of AI and generative AI, it is becoming more complicated. So it leaves a ground and for the insurers also and the underwriters also to understand the risk landscape, in fact, what's happening, to devise the coverages around, to make philosophies around, in fact, how the underwriting can be done. And if such quantum of losses, in fact, if they are such massive, in fact, what we talked about of 16 billion rupees which has happened, there should be capacity, in fact, with the underwriters and the insurers, even on the international front also, collectively, that, okay, they can counter these kind of claims, they can assess these kind of risks, in fact, and make a prudent underwriting around, and they're able to pay the claims eventually. So, of course, a lot of awareness, a lot of penetration, a lot of thought process has to be given on this whole aspect. In fact, how the risk landscape within the cyber is evolving, and how we can design and provide the capacities, underwriting capacities to these kind of risks. Yes, Kavita.
Absolutely. As far as individual policies are concerned, Puneet, I would like to deep dive into it and take more details from you. But then before that, Napini ma'am, we've seen sensitive citizen data leaked in massive breaches, okay? Yet, no personal liability, no compensation, no criminal accountability. Where does the law stand on protecting victims of cybercrime, ma'am?
Very crucial question, and sadly, not much from my end which I can add. I'll tell you where we stood earlier and where we stand today, and it's not like our situation has improved. If you look at data breaches and what the Information Technology Act gave us, it actually gave us a remedy under Section 46 saying that if you are a victim of a data breach, you could approach the adjudicating officer for your remedies and for compensation. Now, this section stands vitiated because of the DPDP Act, or the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. And interestingly, under the DPDP Act, you do not have a provision for seeking compensation. What the DPDP Act says is that you can bring a complaint before the authority about a breach and how it has impacted you. So that doesn't really help us as a customer or as an individual. So when we talk about how we can protect an individual in current scenario, look at the breach that you spoke about in the beginning itself. How many of us believe that we are also victims under that particular breach? Is there a process through which we can verify whether our data has been compromised? Where is the liability for the companies which have facilitated, probably, or which are the platforms through which the breach has happened? Where is the provision for them to inform us? In the DPDP Act, you now have the provision that platforms have to intimate victims. But the DPDP Act has not yet come into effect. It has been notified, but because the rules are still pending notification, we are still in what I call the Trishanku, not Swarga, but now Naraga or hell, right? So we are somewhere in between. We haven't really been able to monetize or take the benefit of the earlier laws, and we still don't have the benefit under the new laws. And even under the new laws, compensation for victims still remains a question mark.
All right, Puneet, let's talk about individual policy features also, because lack of awareness, I think, is also one of the areas where policyholder or people like you and me really need to work. And also, Puneet, after major breaches like the AIMS hack and the recent fintech data leaks, we are talking about crucial lessons that the sector also needs to learn. Okay, I'm talking about smallest thing like policy wordings over here. Have policy wordings evolved to meet new age risk? What are we really talking about over here then?
Absolutely, absolutely, Kavita. See how the things are evolving and how the technology is evolving. It's a really a bigger challenge for the underwriters to cope up with that, with that speed. In fact, I believe. So, of course, the coverages are evolving. Where the new type of hacks have been there, or new types of attacks are being there, or the quantum or the complexity, how it is growing. In fact, even with the generative AI now being skipping in. Of course, but yeah, we can say that that pace is still to be matched, in fact, with the underwriting point of view. If we talk about, in fact, the personal insurance, in fact, or of course, the business environment altogether knows, in fact, kind of what kind of coverages are there, what kind of capacities are there in the market. They have been dealing with them in and out for quite a number of years now. But for personal front, of course, it is a far we are behind, in fact, with the awareness. In fact, if we talk about, hardly 90% of the people are not knowing that there is a cyber insurance at all available there in the market. We see that health insurance and motor insurance in India, they are still way behind with their penetration. In fact, they are not fully being taken by the individuals. So cyber insurance is far away. So that awareness, in fact, that what kind of products, in fact, what kind of the risks they are into with this involvement and these daily involvement with the digital activities. So the policies are available for their financial loss, in fact. So there are theft of the funds, in fact, with any data breach is there, in fact, or their identity theft is there, where their PAN card, Aadhaar card, or their digital
Right,
information is being hacked, and that is misused, in fact, for the misappropriation of funds. Or there could be
right,
malware being inflicted to your systems, or there could be
right.
replacement of hardware would be required, in fact. So all these coverages are there. There could be cyber extortion, there could be cyber bullying, in fact. There could be cyber stalking, in fact. A loss of reputation could be there. There could be mental
Got
harassment
it.
also around. In fact, you are dealing
So
with
we can
online,
say
you're
it's a
doing online
360
shopping.
degree.
In fact, your online
So,
sale
so
is
Puneet,
being
can
there.
we say it's a 360-degree coverage then? The offering that we have in the product, it's 360-degree?
It's not 360 degree as of now, because then
Okay.
it is a collective thing, in fact, both from the insurer and insured. Okay,
All right.
insured, they need to be very vigilant, in fact, and very attentive in their dealings with the digital.
Very hands-on, exactly. Yeah, they
Okay.
have to be very
And
hands-on. So
the
now, so
covers all
sure,
revolve around their awareness and their consciousness. Okay, so
that is
whatever
the whole
goes
point.
beyond their consciousness,
Exactly.
whatever goes beyond their protection, that is being covered by, that is being developed as the insurance product in the market then.
Right, right, right. So this leads to the other question, Napinay ma'am. Now, when a person loses money due to a UPI fraud, okay, let's say a UPI fraud or a phishing link. Now, banks often deny refund citing users' negligence. That's the most common thing that has come up now, okay. That is one way of banks denying the money back to you. Can cyber insurance realistically plug this gap, or is it just passing the buck over here? Because that's the harassment point for a policy holder also.
Critical question, Kavita. Now let's just step back a bit. And the first thing I would want to say is, is cyber insurance absolutely irrelevant, or is it relevant or necessary? My simple response would be, of course, it's necessary and relevant. But how far is it going to help you? That's where the criticality comes up, Often in my personal cases itself, I have seen that insurance, particularly with respect to credit card misuse, has come in very handy. But that is not such a bright story in all instances. So, as you rightly asked in the last bit of the earlier speaker's intervention, what exactly does cyber insurance cover, particularly when you look at it from a customer's perspective? I think clarity on that and certainty is really important, because if I am not going to be protected in most of the instances which happen under financial frauds, and if all things being utopian, that's when cyber insurance will come in handy, then that's not really going to help us much. Secondly, is it essential for the customer to take cyber insurance, or should the banks or the platforms or the companies, which may be the companies involved in the process of the financial fraud, they're not facilitating it, but they are the parties through whom a fraud may have been perpetuated, then is it important for them to take cyber insurance in order to protect the customer? That becomes the next step. I believe that it is actually at a stage where a regulator or the law needs to step in and make it clear in terms of whether cyber insurance should be made mandatory, so as to ensure that a customer will not be deprived of just recompense. And two, the law or regulator may have to clarify who should take out that insurance and how it should work. For an instance, if you take the RBI's circular, you have a zero liability and a limited liability. It also has a timeline which is prescribed in terms of when zero liability will stop, and also for limited liability. When you approach a bank at a stage of a financial fraud, you're first asked to file a cyber complaint. Thankfully, after the online site has been set up, it's a faster process. Often before this, I have noted that customers have been deprived of their right, because by the time they would finish the complaint process, the zero liability timeline is gone. So it's really critical for the regulator to step in now and protect victim rights, rather than only look at it as an industry requirement.
Absolutely. So regulatory measures are over needed, and there is no denying the fact that cyber insurance is the need of the hour. It is equivalent to a health insurance now. But then when we talk about the stakeholders who are involved in these kind of product mixing, the regulator, it's high time that they get serious and get down to business. Thank you so much, both of you, for being of help today for our viewers, helping them understand every aspect of cyber insurance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Kavita. Thanks a lot.